Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Scriptures of May 25th, 2025. And today's topic is called In the Beginning. So, today's topic, we're going to be talking about in the beginning of the Bible in Genesis chapter 1 and a couple other chapters in Genesis of when God started creating when God was creating things in the first whole week. So, we're going to be talking about that today. So, that's why our topic today is in the beginning. So, also, this is our second week back from it was like a 3.5, it was like almost a 3-month ban we went through. We endured, but we are now back. So today's our second topic for being back. And we're going to be talking about the 7 days of the week when God was creating all the things that we have and that we use today. So yeah, so we're gonna first off, before we get into today's topic, before we start going talking about day 1, day 2, day 3, up to day 7, and then we'll talk about the importance of the days of creation. Before we get into that, we are going to listen to instrumental Christian music. Hi, Aunt Kelly. It's good to see you. So, with this instrumental Christian music, we should not get any copyright strikes, and there shouldn't be any violation of the YouTube community guidelines. So, we're gonna go ahead and listen to anointed instrumental Hillsong worship music for probably about until 5:06. And then once about 5 minutes goes by, we will then begin talking about in the beginning in Genesis, when God started creating everything that we have today. So we're just gonna listen to some instrumental Hillsong music here, and we'll get started here in about 5 minutes. Good to see you, Aunt Kelly. Thank you for joining me today. YouTube is supposed to have a library of songs you can play online. Maybe you can check. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that, Aunt Kelly. Thank you for telling me that. I was looking into a little bit of that, and instrumental should be good for the guidelines. And if it's not, then I guess I'll see today after I post it. Because automatically when I post this video, it's gonna tell me whether or not I had a copyright strike or a copyright referral. So I guess we'll see after I post today's video. But yeah, Aunt Kelly, if you have any more suggestions of maybe other music I can maybe use, or like whatever library you're talking about, I'm definitely tell me about it or suggest it, and I will definitely look into it and put it into consideration, because I need a lot of music now that I can't use normal artists and stuff now due copyright strikes. But yeah. So okay, so now that we've got through our first couple minutes of instrumental Hillsong worship music, we are now going to go ahead and get into today's topic, which is called "In the Beginning." So basically, in the beginning, we're gonna be reading a lot through Genesis today. I have scriptures. We're gonna be talking about the first 7 days of creation. So we're gonna narrow it down when God started creating everything in the very 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 beginning of the seas, just of everything that we know, space and everything. We're gonna be talking about that from day one all the way up until day 7, a whole week worth of time it took him to create everything. So we're gonna be talking about the first 7 days, day by day. We're first gonna talk about what happened that day, and after we explain what happened that day, we're then gonna go in the Bible and we're gonna read the scriptures that tells us that, so we know that and so we know how to interpret it, and that we know it was straight from the Bible. So we're gonna do that with each 7 days. We're gonna talk about what happened that day. Then we're gonna read the scriptures that tell us about it. And then after we get through the first 7 days, we're then gonna talk about the importance of the 7 days. Kind of like a summary of it almost. And then once we get all that done, we are then going to listen to a couple. We're gonna listen to some more instrumental music for a couple minutes. Then we have a question. Then we have prayer, and we have our two closing scriptures. So so let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So first off, let's start with day 1 in the beginning. Day 1, on the first day of creation, God made light. He separated it from darkness. God created the light, which is the sun for day, and he created the darkness, which is what we see during night. So on the first day of creation, he created light, and he had it separated from darkness. So on the first day, God created light and he created darkness. He created the two different settings we have throughout a full day. We'll have day in the morning and throughout the afternoon, and then when it gets light, as you see, the sun sets, and then the sun goes on one side and the moon will come out, and that is what gives us darkness, but the light is still lit up, and we'll talk about that a little later. So now we're going to go ahead and read the scriptures that talk about day 1 of creation. So in the scripture in Genesis chapter 1, verse wait in Genesis chapter 1 verses 3 through 5 tell us about day 1. So in Genesis chapter 1, we're just going to go ahead and read the first 5 scriptures here. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And verse 3 talks about the day 1 of creation. He said, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Verse 4 says, and God saw the light, and knew that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. In the evening and the morning were the first day. So that was day 1. We can talk. It tells us about that in Genesis chapter 1 verses 3 through 5. It talks about how he made light, then there was light. He made darkness, and then there was darkness. And he knew when he made those two things, he knew that they were good. He knew that they were content. He knew that they were going to work out for the world. He knew and he was able to provision that they would help us, and that they would be good, and they would be very beneficial to the mankind and the nature he will later create in the week. So now we're going to go ahead and move on until day 2. So day 2, in the beginning, God created the separation between the waters in the atmosphere and the waters we call oceans and he also created the sky. God created both, so then air was made. So in day 2, God first, he made a couple things in day 2. The first thing he did is he made the separation between the waters and the atmosphere. And the waters he made are what we call oceans today. That is what he was talking about. And he created the sky. And when God created the sky and when he created the separation of the waters, that is when air was made. The air and oxygen that we breathe today was made on day 2 in the beginning. So on day 2, God had already made stuff sustainable for if a man was alive day 2, we would be able to survive due to air being made and due to the separation of waters that we call oceans. So in this scripture, so now we're going to read 3 scriptures here about day 2. It is in Genesis chapter 1, verses 6, 7, and 8. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 says, "And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Verse 7 says, "And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so." And the last verse that talks about it is Genesis chapter 1, verse 8. "And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day." So that was day 2. So day 1, he created light and he created darkness and he created day and night. And day 2, that was day 1, he created that. Day 2, he created the separation between the waters, and he also made the sky. And he named the sky, he called the sky heaven. Heaven was in the sky, and he said that the water and the separation of the waters were on surface, which he had made. So now that we've got through that, now we're going to go ahead and move on into day 3 in the beginning. Day 3. On day 3 of creation, God created dry land, seas, and plants and vegetation life. He commanded the waters to gather, revealing dry land he called earth, and the water called seas. Then earth brought about seeds, trees, grass, fruit, and herbs he declared were all good. So day 3 goes back to relate to day 2. Now, as we know, day 1 there was light and there was darkness, there was day and there was night, and that leads us to day 2. Day 2, he had separation between the waters and he made the sky. So day 2, there's waters and there's a sky and there's light and there's darkness. We know that. Day 3, what he did with all that water, all the oceans, all at one, he gathered the water and he basically like receded it, almost like Moses separating the Red Sea. And when he did that and separated the water and gathered them in different groups, making the different oceans, that is when dry land was revealed. And the dry land that was revealed was earth. And on earth, God knew earth was good because when he revealed earth and when he made the different areas of dry land on earth, that is when the earth brought seeds alive. It brought trees, it brought grass, it brought fruit, it brought herbs and all sorts of other vegetation and plant life. And when God saw that the earth was providing that, God then on day 3 he declared that earth was good and that all the things that earth was creating was good and was beneficial to us. And now we're going to go ahead and read about 4 scriptures here. Genesis chapter 1, verses 9 through verse 13. Verse 9 says, "And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so." Verse 10 says, "And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas. And God saw that it was good." Verse 11 says, "And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so." Verse 12 says, "And the earth brought forth grass and herbs yielding seeds after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good." And then verse 13, the last one that talks about day 3 of creation, "And the evening and the morning were the third day." So right there concludes day 3 of creation. So already only in 3 days, when God started creating, the first day we know we had light, we had darkness, we had day and we had night. And then day 2, God was able to create the separation between the waters and the atmosphere, and the waters that we call oceans he made, and he created the sky that he referred to as heaven. That was only 2 days. And then the third day, God was able to part the waters and reveal earth, and also bring a whole bunch of plant and vegetation life onto the earth. Only he did all of that in only 3 days of the week. Only 3 simple days he was able to accomplish all of that, and that's not even the end yet. So now we're going to go ahead and move into day 4. Day 4. On day 4 of creation, he created the sun, which is what brought light. He created the moon, which is what brought the darkness and kept it lit up at night. And also he brought the stars in the sky. God created the sun, moon, and the stars to light the earth and mark seasons, days, and years. So the reasoning why God created the sun, because as we know, God is light. So God didn't have to make the sun because he is light, but God made the sun, moon, and the stars in order to light the earth and mark different seasons, mark different days, and mark different years. And that's what lets you know how the sun and moon rotate around the earth every 24 hours, makes a full loop around the earth. So that is why God made this, because God saw the sun, he saw the moon, and he saw the stars, and he knew they would play a crucial role, and he knew they were beneficial in today's world. So that is why God created the sun, moon, and stars on day 4. He did it so they would light the earth, mark seasons, and also be able to also for mankind to be able to track when days go by, when years go by, when centuries go by, when months go by, holidays, all sorts of things we use nowadays with the sun, moon, and the stars that we use and that we have knowledge about today. And now we're going to read the scriptures about day 4. And the scriptures about day 4 is Genesis chapter 14 through 19. Verse 14 says, And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years. 15 says, And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. Verse 16 says, And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Verse 17 says, And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Verse 18 says, And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. In the final verse that talks about the day 4 of in the beginning, verse 19, in the evening and the morning were the 4th day. So right there, in 4 days, God has already accomplished that huge list of amazing things that we have today and now we are able to use today. Only in 4 days, he created all of that. So now that we've went through the first 4 days and we've read the scriptures, we're now going to go ahead and move into day 5 of creation. So on day 5 of in the beginning, when God was creating stuff, day 5, God created the creatures of the sea and the oceans, and he created the birds of the air. He blessed them to be fruitful and multiply, so they would fill the waters and so they would fill the sky with life. These creatures were second on earth to roam the earth, distinct the plant life he created. He created the plant life on day 3. So when God created all the sea creatures to fill up the oceans and fill up the sea and provide life and provide kind of like an environment ecosystem down there, when he created the sea creatures and the birds that would fly in the air, so they would multiply, they would breed, they would spread. Those two, the birds and the sea creatures, were only the second form of life on the earth. Not considering the plant life and all the vegetation life that he had created before. So on day 5, he created the creatures of the sea, he created birds of the air, and he blessed them to be fruitful and multiply, so they would fill the waters and they would fill the sky with life. They would fill the sky and the waters with life. So on day 5, he created all of that. And now we're going to go ahead and read a couple of scriptures here that talk about day 5 of in the beginning. So where it talks about day 5 is in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20 up to verse 23. Verse 20 says, "And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." Verse 21 says, "And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good." Verse 22 says, "And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." And the final verse, verse 23 in Genesis, that talks about day 5, verse 23 says, "And the evening and the morning were the 5th day." So right after that, the first 5 days have went by of the week. There's still 2 days left. So in 5 days, God created all of that. So much has been created now on day 5. And we're still not done with everything he created in the first week. So now we're gonna go ahead and move to day 6. Day 6 is one of the most day 6 is a very big day. Day 6 was definitely one of the most days talked about in the Bible and people nowadays. Day 6, in the beginning, God created humankind. First, God created Adam. God used dirt and dust from the ground, and he was able to form a man. He formed a man, and he breathed, and he, from his breath, from God's breath, he breathed life into that dust, and that dirt. And when he breathed life into that dust and dirt from the earth, Adam, the first man, the first male, was created and born. The first human was Adam. And once Adam was made, obviously, you need somebody else, so they would be able to breed and they would be able to, multiply. God then took out he took one of the ribs out of Adam, and he created Eve. And once he created Eve, Adam and Eve were created, and those were the first two humans, the first male and the first female to ever roam and to ever be on earth. He created. And once he did that, once they were made, they had a soul, they were living, they were alive, they were able to roam. And as we know later on, we talked about this a couple times in a couple of our past videos, Adam and Eve then will later go in the Garden of Eden, and they will be the first ones to sin. So yeah, so day 6, one thing he created was humankind. He created Adam, the first man, and he created Eve, the first woman. But that wasn't all he made. Another thing God made on day 6 was God also made land animals. God made wild animals on earth. He made land animals, all sorts of land animals. He made reptiles. So on day 6, God created Adam and Eve, the first two humans, and he created land animals, wild animals, reptiles, just things like that. Following the day before on day 5 when he created birds and sea creatures, Day 5, he didn't create all the creatures we have today, but he created birds and he created the creatures of the sea. Then day 6, he'll create more, but this time he won't create creatures of the sea, or he won't create creatures of the air or the sky. He will then create land animals, like wild animals you would find in the woods, reptiles like deserts, stuff like that. So that on day 6, he created humankind and he created land animals. So now we're going to go ahead and read the scriptures about day 6, which is in Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 through 31. So first, verse 24, "And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so." Verse 25 says, "And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good." Verse 26 says, "And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Verse 27 says, So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female he created he them. And verse 28 says, And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Verse 29 says, And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for me. Verse 30 says, And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for me, and it was so. And the final verse that talks about day 6 of creation is verse 31, the last verse of Genesis chapter 1. It says, And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. So day 6. So there's, as you know, there's 7 days of the week. Day 6 was the last day before the second to last day before he was done. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about day 7. So let me just pull this up. Day 7 of creation. Day 7 of creation. Day 7, God finished all his work and he rested from all he had done. The 7th day of the week, known as Sabbath day, which today is known as Sunday, was became known as a day of rest and a day of worship. So we can relate day 7 to a lot. So the first 6 days, God created many beneficial stuff when in the beginning. God created nonstop every day. And finally, the 7th day, the last day of the whole week, he rested and he knew that he finished all his work and he knew that he was done with his creation in the beginning. So on day 7, God rested and he had lied down after all that hard work he had accomplished in the days before. And that was the 7th day of the week, which is in the Bible it is referred to as Sabbath day. And in today's world, we still have Sabbath day. Actually, today is Sabbath day. Every Sunday, every 7th day of the week is Sunday. But also, Sunday is also known as Sabbath day. And in the Bible, Sunday became known as the day of rest and the day of worship. So every Sunday, it refers to Sabbath day as the 7th day of creation in the beginning is when God rested and is when we should worship him and when we should praise him and thank him for everything he has done for us. So day 7, he finished his work, he rested, and he knew that he was done, and it became known as Sabbath day, which is known as Sunday today, known as the day of rest and as a day of worship. So then we'll go ahead and read the scriptures about day 7, and it is in Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Verse 1 says, Thus the heavens and earth were finished, and all the host of them. Verse 2 says, And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. Verse 3 says, And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So so that was everything. So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the importance of the first 7 days. So there's a lot of important factors of day 7. So one big thing that is very important about the 7 days of creation in the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, the first chapter of the Bible, one big thing we know about is that this shows is God's power and his sovereignty. The creation narrative showcases God's ability to create from nothing through his word, demonstrating his omnipotence and authority over all things. God's creative acts are not a result of our need or constraint, but rather a demonstration of his free and loving decision. So that's one big important factor of the beginning in the Bible. Another thing that's very important that we need to know from this is God's order and God's purpose. The first 3 days of creation involve organizing the formless and empty earth by separating light from darkness, the sky from the sea, and land from the waters. This demonstrates God's desire for a well-ordered and purposeful creation, preparing the earth for future creations. The subsequent 3 days focus on filling these spaces with light, birds, fish, and animals, culminating in the creation of humanity. And then another thing that is very important about these 7 days is the goodness of creation. God's declaration that everything he created was very good emphasizes the intrinsic value and beauty of the natural world. This contrasts with any notion that creation is inherently evil or flawed, which is a common misconception in some world religions. And I still have 2 more important factors of the 7 days in the beginning. Another one is framework for the Sabbath, also known as Sunday. The 6 days of creation followed by a day of rest, the Sabbath, aka Sunday, provide a framework for understanding the weekly cycle of rest and of work. The Sabbath is a reminder of God's creative power and the importance of resting and remembering and worshiping him for all he has done for us. So that's 4 things of that are important about the 7 days. And the final thing I have for us that is important about it is the preparation for humanity. The first 6 days of creation prepare the earth for the creation of humanity, who are made in God's image and given dominion over the earth. This highlights the special relationship God desires to have with humans and the purpose for which they were created. So right there, that is 5 very important things that we need to remember when we think about the beginning in the Bible. When we think about Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2, those 5 things are the most important things that we need to know and that we need to acknowledge when we talk about the beginning of the Bible and we talk about the 6 days of creation. And when we think about every Sunday, when we go to church or when we rest or when we stay inside or we just enjoy the beautiful day that he has provided us, that every Sunday is Sabbath day. And every Sunday is the day when God rests and when God had gotten done with creating so much in the first 6 days before. So so that was everything we had for today's topic. I hope you enjoyed the topic. That was the topic in the beginning. So now that we've got through all of that, we've got through the 7 days, we've got through the scriptures about them, and we've got through the importance of the 7 days. We are now going to go ahead and move into the second part of our video. So first, we're going to listen to some instrumental Christian music here for about 4 or 5 minutes. And then once we're done listening to music, we will then go ahead and get into today's question. We'll get into today's prayer, and we'll also get into our 2 closing scriptures. So just sit back and relax. We have 4 more things to cover for today's video. So yeah, we'll get into our question here in a couple minutes. So this is some more instrumental music we'll listen to here. Also, I hope you all enjoyed the topic for today's video in the beginning.
If you often have trouble sleeping, experience many dreams, and suffer from...
Hey, sorry about that. Thank you everyone for joining me. Okay, so that was some more instrumental Christian music. So now we're going to go ahead and get in with our last couple parts of today's video. So first I want to talk about, first we're going to get into with our today's question of today's video. So as long as you were paying attention and listening, this should be a very easy question. So first one to give me the correct answer in the live chat will be today's winner of today's question. And today's question is, what day did God create the sun, the moon, and the stars? So I've went ahead and narrowed it down to three options. Did God create that on day 1 of creation? Did he create it on day 4? Or did he create it on day 3? So first one to give me the right number in the chat will be today's winner of today's question. And the question is, what day did God create the sun and the moon and the stars? So what day was it when he created those three things? When he created the sun to bring light, the moon to bring darkness, and the stars to light up the night when it was dark. So first one to give me the correct number for that question will be today's winner of today's question. On what day God created those things? And then if we don't have an answer here in about a minute, about 40 seconds here, I'll go ahead and give you the answer, and we'll move on to prayer and then our closing scriptures. We'll give it about 20 more seconds here. If we don't have an answer by then, I'll just go ahead and give you the answer and we'll move on. Okay. Okay, what is going to be the answer? So we didn't have a winner today, but that question is, what day did God create the sun, moon, and the stars? God created all those things on day 4 of creation. So as we know, day 1 he created light. He created light and darkness. Day 2 he created the separation between waters in the atmosphere, and he created the sky. Day 3 he created dry land, seas, and plant and vegetation life. And day 4 is on day 4 of creation of the week, the 4th day of the week. God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. So that was the correct answer for today's question. Day 4 is when he created those three things: the sun, moon, and the stars. So now that we've got through today's question, we're now going to go ahead and move into today's prayer. So if you have any prayer requests you would like to give, please give them now. So today we have 4 prayer requests. So the first one we have is Jan. Jan is going through some very emotional and some physical struggles still. She is very sad and she is just struggling a lot with her leg. And she's struggling a lot mentally and physically. So we just want to pray for Jan. We want to pray that God will continue to heal her. And we want to pray that God will comfort her and provide her healing that she very desperately needs. So we're going to pray for Jan. We're also going to pray for healing over Lynette. We're going to pray that God will heal and comfort Lynette with whatever battles she is currently battling right now in life. And our third request is for Kelly. We want to pray for Kelly. She's currently having some struggles and some issues with her lungs and her health. So we want to pray for Kelly and her lungs. We want to pray that God will heal and that he will touch Kelly and that he will take away any pain or discomfort she is currently witnessing or currently experiencing is what I meant to say. And then today I got a new prayer request from my church. We want to pray for, his name is Michael. Michael has recently he has had a seizure and he was blind for a couple minutes. And he is also currently struggling with brain tumors. So we want to pray for Michael. He is struggling a lot physically and mentally. We want to pray that God will heal his brain, that God will get rid of those brain tumors, and that he will heal him so that he no longer suffers temporary blindness, and that he won't suffer temporary seizures that happen every so often. So we want to pray for Michael. We want to pray that God will heal him and touch him. So we are going to be praying for Jan, Lynette, Kelly, and Michael. So at this time, please bow your head to the Lord. God, thank you for this day that you have provided us, God. Please, God, help Jan. Heal her, God, and comfort her, God. Help her, God, whatever mentally, physically, or spiritually she needs, God. Heal her and touch her, God. Also heal Lynette, God. Whatever battles Lynette is currently dealing with, God. Please, God, help her, God. Give her the answer she needs, God. Take her down the right path that she needs to be down, God. in your name, God. And God, help Kelly, God. Whatever Kelly is currently dealing with, God, whatever is wrong with her lungs, God, or whatever is wrong with her health, please heal her and comfort her and strengthen her, God, so she is able to get out whatever pain or discomfort she is currently experiencing, God. And help Michael. Michael has currently been suffering with temporary blindness and temporary seizures that happen every so often, God. I ask you, God, that you will heal Michael, God, and you will take away those brain tumors that are on his brain right now, God. Heal him and make him 100% full again, God. Heal and touch each and every person today, God. In your name, Jesus, amen. Amen. So that was today's prayer. So if you have any late prayer requests, please request them in the comments after this video is posted. So so now we're just gonna go ahead and get into our last part of our video. And our last part of our video is our 2 closing scriptures. So I've went ahead and I picked out 2 powerful scriptures in the Bible to read to you. So our first one is Isaiah chapter 43 verse 2. Isaiah chapter 43 verse 2 says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you. And what this verse is telling us is that God's presence and protection during it tells us the size of God's presence and protection during times of difficulty and during times of hardship we may encounter. So that is what Isaiah 43 verse 2 states and emphasizes to us, the reader. And then I have one more scripture in Isaiah I want to read to us, and that is Isaiah chapter 12 verse 2. Isaiah chapter 12 verse 2 states, surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. This verse in the Bible signifies that God is the source of one's salvation, the object of trust, and the provider of strength and defense, leading to a state of freedom from fear. So that is what Isaiah chapter 12 verse 2 emphasizes and tells us the reader. So right there, that was today's 2 closing scriptures, and that concludes today's full video. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all enjoyed today's topic in the beginning. So I hope to see you all next Sunday at 5 o'clock. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. I hope you all have a good rest of your week. And I hope to see you all next Sunday at 5 o'clock for a new topic and a new video for Sunday Scriptures. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.